Hey everyone, good evening, and welcome to Ask the Agent. Today is Monday, August the 14th, and I'm excited about tonight's program. My name is Sharina George, and I'm your Central Florida Realtor. I am with Watson Realty Corp and Champions Gate. I'm so excited to be a part of Team Anthony. Shout out to Dominique Anthony and Renee Anthony and Shane Spence, who are all a part of my team. So I'm so excited to be a part of such an amazing team. Listen, Ask the Agent, you guys, on Monday evenings is your opportunity to receive the answers to your questions. I know many times when you're going to buy, or maybe you're in the market to sell or to buy a home or even invest, you have lots of questions. You type your question in Google, Google spits out all of these answers, but many of those answers require interpretation. Many of those answers are good answers, but they require interpretation. So tonight, I have some experts who I brought on from title and mortgage to be able to answer your question tonight, to be able to give you some valuable feedback. So at this time, I'm going to bring on my guests. All right, so we have Melanie Thompson of Watson Mortgage. How are you tonight, Melanie?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you, Sharina, for having me here.
Awesome. And then we also have Brenda from Watson Title. How are you, Brenda?
Hello. Hi, Sharina. Yep. Excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. All right, I'm going to go on over to our comments and just let you guys know good evening. You can place your comments or your questions right at the bottom, I believe, of YouTube. You'll see a comment section down there. So go ahead and comment. So, first, in order for you guys to kind of get the best answers to your questions, you need to know what experts I have before you, right? So, Brenda, talk to us a little bit about yourself and how you joined Watson Title.
Yep. I've originally started with Watson Realty in 2003, and then I transferred over to Watson Title in 2006. So I've been with the company almost 21 years in January. So great company. I've had a lot of great resources through the years. So excited to, hopefully give somebody some good information this evening if they're listing their home. And I've also worked very closely with Melanie over several years, since with her 2005. So her and I have been a team together for a long time. So excited to be here. So hopefully we'll get some good questions.
Awesome, awesome. Melanie, tell us a little bit about yourself and how and why you joined Watson Mortgage.
So, as Brenda shared, I've been with the company since 2005. I originally joined the company, interestingly enough, to look into real estate. And of course, when I learned that it's 100% commission, I was like, scared me to death. So I decided that I've always been, and I was coming from a bookkeeping background, so I've always loved numbers. And so I had someone give me a call back with an opportunity to join the mortgage team. And so I jumped on it and have loved it ever since.
Awesome, awesome. I love when individuals are passionate about what they do, right?
Yes.
Like I put a post on Facebook one time, you guys, that said, if you aren't passionate about what you're doing, why should I be passionate? And I think we definitely serve and lead with heart and lead with passion when we love what we're doing. So it sounds like you ladies have definitely found your niche and loving what you're doing. Welcome, welcome to those who are coming on tonight. Go ahead and comment in the box. Just kind of say hello so I can see who's tuned in tonight. So we'll jump right into the conversation. And remember, you guys, feel free to insert your questions. Feel free to insert your comments or your commentary as we're having this great conversation tonight. This is Ask the Agent, so this is your opportunity to have those questions answered. So let's utilize our experts that we have on tonight. So I want to start with title. So when I'm thinking about title, Brenda, I hear a lot of wording, thrown around about liens. First of all, Brenda, talk to our viewing audience and let them know what a lien is for those who is unfamiliar with what a lien is.
So a lien is something that's recorded against the legal description of the property. It's not recorded against the subject street address. It's against that legal description. So if folks go to list their home and you have your agent come down and do the presentation with you, What we will essentially do from Watson Title, we don't have an upfront fee, but we do charge at closing. But we'll do a preliminary title search for the property if you list with Watson Realty and you use Watson Title Services. And what we'll do is our underwriters, which is Old Republic, will do what's called the title search on the property, and they'll discover if anybody's liened what would be like a mortgage, a line of credit, if they've taken out any solar on the property, if they have any HOA that they haven't paid. HOAs can lien in Florida. They can actually start foreclosure proceedings. So HOAs have a lot of power in Florida. So all of this is done initially at the beginning of the process, and that's done, once the folks sign off on the preliminary search, that they, to see what there is against the property. Some sellers may not be aware of. We have one that really comes up a lot, like a water treatment softener. They record like a UCC lien, so that is something that has to be paid off at closing or released. So mortgage, obviously, if you've taken out a mortgage against your property, we have to get the release for that, payoff for that. So those are some examples, simple examples of what a lien is.
So it sounds like a lien is definitely something that's very common, since you said a mortgage falls in that category.
Yes.
When I think about a lien and think about mortgage, Melanie, does liens often come up when individuals are going for that mortgage? They're approved for so much. What does a lien have to do with that aspect of a buyer trying to buy a property?
Well, so that really falls more in the wheelhouse of title to research and see, because they're researching that seller side to make sure that when our new buyer takes on that property, that all liens have been released from that property. We want to be able to give that property over to that new buyer free and clear of any liens, and that really is what title does for their part. And then of course when we record our mortgage on the property under the new buyer's name, then their lien gets recorded. And then it just, goes along the process.
Now, I'm thinking when some come to you, Melanie, to purchase the property, they get approved, they get with the real estate agent, they find a home. Brenda, when that person is selling that home to Melanie's buyer, are there some times that liens are found that the owner of that home didn't know were there?
Yes, that could come up. There could be sometimes what's categorized as a HELOC, a line of credit. That is something that is also a lien. So that is something that certain banks will allow them to transfer it to keep it going and lien it against another property. But typically we have to pay off the HELOC. So we just try to, with our preliminary title searches, once we get them in, if we do see a HELOC, I always reach out right away to make sure that they understand that that is something that has to be paid off. So a lot of folks just aren't aware when they do the HELOC, if they do sell the property, that they have to take care of that. So
Now, when we're thinking about insurance, when you were just talking about, something that, of course, could come up on the title, we know that there's insurance on the home. Is there an insurance that actually protects if something was missing in the title, if there was something that, wasn't found, there was something missing? Is there title insurance or no?
yeah, part of everything we do is through the FAR bar. So once that includes what's called title insurance. That's the owner's policy of title insurance. And then however you negotiate the contract is who pays for what. But that's what Old Republic does, is they underwrite the insurance. It's a promulgated rate through the Department of Insurance, which is based off the sales price of the property. So
Okay. Okay. Awesome. A lot of protection for you guys
yeah,
out there who are thinking about buying a home.
yeah,
I know it can seem kind of scary, and this is a large asset, an expensive asset for some of us. The most costly one that some of us will ever buy. When we're thinking about buying, I love the protection, Brenda, that you're saying that we have as we go through title. Now, Melanie, some who are watching are thinking about buying, and I know there's a lot going on with interest rates. We've got to go there, Melanie. So talk to us a little bit about what's going on in our interest rates right now.
Well, I wish I had better news to share. Rates are still holding pretty steady. I just did read an article today that said that rates are back to the levels that they were in October, November of 2022. So Right now, across the board, we're looking at about 7.25% on a conventional 30-year fixed. You may find a tad bit lower on some of the government loans, but for the most part, most all of the loans right now are falling into the 7% range.
Mm.
And of course, there's lots of things that affect that, credit score, et cetera,
but a lot of them. Now, I did see some programs, and you can help us to understand that for you guys out there who are thinking about new construction. I've actually seen some flyers where different builders here in Florida are actually offering about, 4.7 or 5.2. How is that possible, Melanie, when rates are in the sevens? How is that possible?
And the only reason that I'm able to answer this is for a short time. I actually did go and work for a new construction builder here in Florida. The way that they do it is those builders basically buy a very large bucket of mortgage money that they are able to lock into a particular rate based on, with a lot of those, they'll say, well, we can offer this, but you've got to have a minimum credit score of a 720. It is for primary residences only. But they're able to do it because of the absolutely sheer large quantity of mortgages and homes that they are selling. This was a nationwide builder that I had this experience with, which is wonderful, for buyers if they can qualify and get into those fixed rates, because right now the rates are probably one of the biggest challenges besides low inventory.
Yeah. And I think that what you're saying is so in line with right now, with the interest rates being at that 7%, actually causes a person to be able to qualify for a bit less of the home, right?
That is true, yes. It comes down to debt to income ratio. So a lot of people don't realize that part of their debt to income ratio calculation is that new mortgage payment on the new home that they're hoping to purchase. So within that mortgage payment, we're including principal, interest, taxes, insurance, all of the above. So that principal and interest amount is definitely affected by interest rates. If that rate is a little bit higher, that P&I portion of that payment will be a little bit higher. Therefore, it kind of, pulls back on how much they might qualify for a total overall sales price of their home. So rates definitely do affect that. Buyers still have the ability to buy down rates if they choose, which may help increase their buying power, but buying down rates also increases the closing costs. So it's just one of those things that you kind of just have to fine tune it, but definitely rates do affect how much house someone can afford.
Okay. So we're going through the home buying process. I'm tuned in to Ask the Agent. I'm loving what you ladies are saying. I'm grabbing up a little bit of courage to be able to kind of get out there, and maybe it is time for me to buy now, even though the rates are kind of high. Now, Brenda, with title, as this borrower goes through the process of, finding a home, offer, inspection period, and we get down to title, what I have basically kind of heard from some of the agents is that right there at closing day or a few days before, some things can be halted. Does title have anything to do with that?
Not really, not necessarily. It would really be if something was to happen with the buyer, like if they purchased a car or if they purchased something, right before closing that would affect the mortgage. But the only way if title didn't have something in, but that should have been disclosed before you sat down at the closing table, as far as a estoppel, HOA estoppel, which is if somebody's a part of an association, but that should be all pre-disclosed. I can't answer for everybody's process, but our process is pretty streamlined. So we have a very good system where we keep everybody updated and everyone can see status on everything that's been ordered, whatever criteria for that we need to do for each property. So.
Okay, so overall, Brenda, without, I know of course it's case by case, what are some common things that need to be put together in order for title to fully proceed with this asset? What are some documents? I know you just said HOA documents. What are some common documents that you see daily?
Yeah. If we're dealing with a cash transaction, we have to have the title search in. We have to have what's also called the municipal lien search. That's codes, permits, and utilities. Some title companies interpret the contract different. Where our interpretation, we do seller pays for what's called the municipal lien search. These all take about Title search is about 3 to 5. Municipal lien is 7 to 10. So we have a company that does that. And also the HOA estoppel. So if the seller is part of a association, that is 10 business days. Unless they would like to pay a rush fee, then that can be done in 3 to 5 days. So those are mandatory in order for us to clear title and underwrite the title insurance. So those are some key points. Also mortgage payoffs, if they have to order any payoffs that we have once we've gotten the title search in, we have to make sure all that's paid off or cleared up or on file, and so we can put that on our final Alta.
So does that process for you, Brenda, start after a person puts in an offer is accepted, escrow, the inspection period, anywhere in there is title moving, or is that
We
after the inspection period?
we start right away.
Okay. So you start right away.
Yep.
And that probably makes it a lot better for you too. Now,
Yes.
Melanie, I know you're in the process. If this person is using you as a lender, you're in the process from start to finish, correct? Can you give us a little bit of highlight? I know from the real estate aspect of sitting down, finding out your budget, finding out your pre-approval, looking for homes in your criteria. I know my process, but what is the mortgage process like if a person wanted to call you today to purchase a home through to actually closing?
So the very first thing that we want to do, and the way that I do it, is that I take a very general pre-approval application. I want just to know what all of my tools are. What am I working with? What do we have for income? What do we have for credit scores? From there, you just basically whittle it down to see what kinds of different programs that I can offer to these buyers. I will tell you that I do not pigeonhole them to any particular loan. I am all about education. I'm not going to be the one that's writing this mortgage check every month. So I want to empower the buyers with their, the different loan options that they can qualify for. Maybe they qualify for an FHA or conventional and even maybe down payment assistance, but it's going to be up to them and their scenario, for which of those that they would ultimately like to go with. So, I explain things like PMI, which differs, from loan type to loan type. But once we kind of settle into the loan that is going to work best for them, I send them an itemized estimate, not with any particular home in mind, but so they have an idea of what they're looking at for a monthly payment and what they're looking at for closing cost. People are often surprised, especially first timers. They don't realize that closing costs add up. That can be quite a good chunk of money that they will need to come up with in addition to down payment money. A lot of times, especially the newer buyers think that whatever the down payment is that's required for that particular loan is all they have to come up with, but that certainly is not the case. In those closing costs, you've got an appraisal, you've got a property survey, you've got the title company fees and all of the recordings there. You've also got your cushion for your escrow accounts, which is taxes and insurance, as well as that whole first year's worth of homeowners insurance. So, once they know and you set expectations so that they know what they're going to have to come out of pocket with. At that point is when we hand them back over to you guys, to the realtor, to then find the property. Even throughout the process, I find that I'm still working closely with those realtors because, a lot of times let's say they found a home they want to place an offer on, but the HOA is really high, or maybe there is, what am I thinking of? Like a capital contribution or a higher closing cost. That's something where we would just have to be prepared to, again, just share with the buyer how this is going to affect their closing. And once they find a home, we just issue the pre-approval letter. And like I said, hand it back to you guys. And hopefully from there, the offer gets accepted. One thing that I do like to try to do, especially in a market, like we have, where people are, especially sellers, they really, really want to know that it's a slam dunk deal, is if I issue a pre-approval letter and I know that one of my realtors has placed an offer, I will try to get contact information for that listing agent and just give them a call, just a courtesy call to say, hi, I understand that you just received an offer from one of my qualified buyers. Just wanted to see if you had any questions, and just, assure you that I've gone through documents and looked at everything and that they are solid. And so, and a lot of realtors, appreciate us doing that, because certainly it does give them, I feel like, a leg up with the competition that's out there. But, once it starts from there, then that's when they're under contract. We start collecting the documents in, we get their files submitted to underwriting, we find out what their conditions are. Every single mortgage is going to come back with some kind of conditions, even if it's just simply asking for who they choose for homeowners insurance. But there could be things like, I need a written letter of explanation for something that's on a bank statement, or, an alternate name, possibly like a maiden name, came up on the credit report. We need a written, notice for that.
Mhm.
At that point, when that conditional approval is issued, that buyer is qualified for that loan, as long as we can satisfy these conditions. I just explained that conditions are nothing more than checking a box. As long as we can check each box on all of these conditions that the underwriter is asking for, then we should have no problem in getting them to the closing table. And then, of course, once we clear all of those, we work with title to get the CD finalized, get them their final amounts, make sure that their banks are local so that they can send their wired money to the title company. And then, hopefully we go to a happy closing day.
All right. It sounds like you really walk them through the process, which is really
Try.
good because a lot may not know. We do have a live question. Thank you, Greg, for your question. If I build a new home, Brenda, does title insurance cover me if the builder misses something?
Yeah, there's exceptions to that, but a standard policy will show any public recorded liens, if there's any unpaid back taxes, if there's any encroachments. That's why we always stress, for cash, you don't have to have what's called a survey, which gives you the boundary lines. When we're dealing with the lender, they do require a survey. So that would be something, if a borrower decided they did not want to have a survey and there was an encroachment, that could be an issue that's not insurable through title insurance. So overall, standard policy will cover, most items that I mentioned: taxes, mortgages, UCC liens, etc.
And that's required for your new builds, correct?
New builds, well, I can't, for new builds, they have a whole different set of contract, but typically they do require, I don't know if cash, if they require an owner's policy, that I can't answer. I know if there's a mortgage involved, they do require title insurance. So.
Okay. Okay. Then I have a question for you, Melanie. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you,
Yes.
Greg, for that question. Trevor, thank you for your question. Melanie, you said something about buying down the rate with more cash at close. Is that available on programs with low or no down payment? And does that affect the PMI? And I'm going to show that on the screen so you can see that as well.
Okay, let me close out my other window here. So buying down the rate is not, it depends on the program. I'll say that. So with our program that the state of Florida offers, which is through Florida Housing, they actually set their own interest rates, and buy downs with those kind of loans is not possible. They set the rate. They are designed to help people who are moderate to low income. And so it's not an expectation that those buyers would have a lot of extra funds to buy the rate down anyway. So they work to get them as low as possible, for what they offer, period. Those don't allow buy downs. Conventional, always, you can do a buy down. FHAs, VAs, even USDAs, you can do a buy down, but basically 1 point is 1% of the loan amount. So it can definitely increase your closing cost amount, so you just got to make sure that that buyer has those funds to be able to close and make that work. And then the second part of the question, does that affect PMI? Buying down the rate does not affect PMI. PMI is basically an insurance policy that protects the lender. What PMI does is it allows a buyer to put less than 20% down. Frankly, it allows us to be able to have, a loan that's only 3% down, 3.5% down, 5% down. The trade-off for that lower down payment is that we also pay PMI as part of that monthly mortgage payment. Now, depending on the loan type and equity that's grown in that property, that PMI may eventually drop off. Some programs, it is on there for the life of the mortgage. So the buyer would eventually have to refinance, to get that PMI off of there. But buying the rate down simply, just lowers the monthly mortgage payment. Doesn't really affect that PMI.
Now, is there a maximum buy down or maximum points?
There is, only because you have to watch out, because what the CFPB, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, does is they monitor to make sure that buyers are not being taken advantage of. A lot of this happened back in 2007 and 8 when we had the first mortgage meltdown that happened, and unfortunately people were being taken advantage of, and they were being charged crazy amounts of points and things like that. So they've put into place, there's something called a Section 32 loan, which is basically predatory lending. So that if someone truly is buying their interest rate down, that's one thing. But if they're being charged a bunch of junk points by, unfortunately, maybe a dishonest lender or someone that's just trying to take advantage of someone who doesn't know any better, there are caps for that. And it would become a mortgage that most likely could not close because it would be a high price loan. So typically no more than probably after about 4 points, you have to kind of start running that through the system to make sure that you're not getting into that red area.
Okay, yeah, and that's good. And that's good that you know that, so that as you're working with your buyers, that you can definitely tell you guys you're going to be with an honest person who knows her stuff. And so if you're looking for, to be approved for a loan, if you're looking, to see if this is a great time for you to buy, I think Melanie Thompson would be an amazing person for you to reach out to at Watson Mortgage, not just because I'm with Watson, but just because of the integrity and the level of professionalism in which, Melanie operates. I think she'd be an amazing person for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do have a question for you, Brenda. Okay, once you close on a property, can you reach out to the title company to review the documents again? And then if so, how much time do you have after closing?
Effectively, no. Once you close, you're closed. So unless you needed to update like a mailing address on the front of the deed before it gets recorded, we digitally record down here in Florida, so all of our deeds get recorded pretty timely right after closing. So Jay, it would just depend what documents you want reviewed, but if it's anything to do with, really, I'm not quite sure what documents he would want reviewed. Just always make sure to try to review everything before you actually get to the closing or at the closing.
Okay, now with title, Brenda, I know you have those that are actually going through the mortgage process and those who are paying cash. For those who may not know title, if they're buying the property cash, is that a physical document that they get? And then on the mortgage side, when they're done paying for this property, is that a physical paper they get? What is that?
They'll get from us, at closing, they'll get a copy of the warranty deed, and then we digitally record that, and then they'll get a copy of the recorded with the original after closing, along with the owner's policy of title insurance. So we send it out as a bundle a couple weeks after closing. But Florida's a table funding state, so as soon as all the money and the escrow and everything's in place and all the documents are signed, effectively the closing date is disbursement date, and then we record the deeds. All states do it different. So you own the property, keys are dispersed. And then what was your question after that? If you had,
if you if you did cash or if you went through mortgage at the end of paying for that mortgage.
What happens after that, once we wire out the mortgage payoffs, and then it's up to the bank. They have about 30 to 60 days to what's called file the release or what's called the satisfaction of mortgage. And that will come directly from the bank. So I always tell folks, reach out to them. They typically don't send a hard copy because it's recorded in public records. But once they get their escrows back, if we paid off a mortgage, like for taxes and insurance, and then it's their responsibility to make sure that they, get that lien recorded, which most of them, we do have some issues that have come up. Banks have not, but we deal with that accordingly. But that's the standard procedure. Are
we lean? Are we a lean theory state, Brenda?
Lean theory.
Or a where we, hold on one second. Let me see what. Okay, so in lien theory states the borrower holds the title to the property instead of a deed or trust. A mortgage is recorded in the public record and acts as a lien against the property. Lien theory or title theory? Which
We're
one are we
table
here?
we're table funding, so everything we don't hold. Some states where you stay in the property, some states that we disperse, and everything's done at the day of closing.
Got it, got it, got it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so when it comes to mortgage, let me go back to my other screen. When it comes to mortgage, Melanie, um, what are some common questions that you get from your first time home buyers? Maybe just share with us just a couple.
Yeah, so they're all interested, of course, in the down payment assistance programs and what we have available for first time home buyers. But and I will say too, with a lot of those programs, there is a very good thing that they require, and that is for them to go through a first time homebuyer class. Those classes are offered online, and typically they're taught by people just like all of us, that are in this call right now. So, you have a realtor rep, you'd have a mortgage rep there, and they go through and teach basically about being a first time home buyer. Sometimes first time home buyers don't know about escrow and understand about taxes and how that works in there. Mainly, they all want to know how much they have to put down. How much do they have to come with out of pocket? I always, before I discuss anything as far as a monthly payment goes, I ask what is their payment goal. So that way, at least I know if we are even in the same wheelhouse together or not. Because if they come back and say they don't want any more than $800 a month, I know that that's not realistic. So, but mainly just the money things. They of course are always curious about credit. What do I need to have for a credit score? Because a lot of times they'll come to you and they may have money saved up, but they may not be ready credit wise. We can help with that. We do have a credit repair program that Watson Mortgage offers free to anyone that's out there. A lot of other places will charge for it, but thankfully our company has invested in that so that we can help those buyers that might need a leg up, with trying to get a little bit of guidance on what they need to pay off or not pay off or do to help improve their credit. But every buyer is different. A lot of them will get online and educate themselves. So I can tell those that do that because they come in with all of these very interesting questions, and they are like ready to go. And then there are some that literally come to you and want to just hand everything over to you and have you kind of walk them through it. So every buyer is a little bit different, but mainly they just want to know how much and how long does it take, and when can I start shopping?
I love it. And then I'm thinking when you're talking about the money, that the down payment and the closing costs are two separate things, right?
They absolutely are, and that, like I said earlier, that's sometimes a big surprise for first timers.
And that's something that, of course, as they sit down with you, Melanie, you talk to them more about, hey, this is the down payment percentage, but this
Yeah.
is your closing cost, and
Yes,
making sure that you have enough for both of those. Are there some programs right now that can help, buyers here in
absolutely.
Florida?
Absolutely. So Florida's really, gosh, in all the years that I've been doing mortgages, this I would have to say is one of the best ones that they've offered. But right now, I just checked on the website yesterday, and I believe they have $28 million left of it. We started off, you know, had a whole lot more money than that. It's dwindling fast, but I can tell you, Florida Housing always, if this program ends or runs out of money, there will be another one right behind it. They are also, the state of Florida has been really good about, being able to fund these loans. I've done them since I got into the business, so I assume that, that it will keep going. But the program that's out there right now, the buyers have to have a minimum of a 640 credit score. They do have to be a first time home buyer unless they are a veteran. There's a veterans exemption that they don't have to be first time home buyers. By mortgage definition, a first time home buyer is anyone who has not owned a primary residence in the last 3 years. They owned it 3.25 years ago or 4 years ago, that's okay. By mortgage definition, you are now a first time home buyer if you haven't owned in 3 years. So that's a requirement. There are household income limits that, because again, we're trying to encourage like the moderate to lower income households to own a home. And so there are income limits that we have to check it against, but they can get up to 5% of the loan amount or $35,000 is the max. The minimum that they'll get by that calculation is they will get no less than 10,000. And basically it's 0% interest on that money. And it definitely can make the difference, of whether some buyers are able to buy now or not. It can make a big difference.
Are they able to use some of that down payment assistance for a rehab loan? One of our questions that came in.
With the down payment assistance program, they do not offer a rehab loan, and that is a specialty loan, really, because there's a lot of ins and outs, and so I guess because of that, Florida Housing has not taken that on. They do offer manufactured homes. They will also allow condos, but mainly I think what's used for with that program is single family housing. So, but unfortunately, I don't know of any down payment assistance for rehab loans. That'd be nice, though.
Yeah, that would be, for your rehab. So, Brenda, is there a need for more title officers? Would you encourage individuals to go ahead and pursue it as a career? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of experience. I'll be honest with you. A lot of the ladies I work with have been in the business like 20, 30 years. So, it is good to start out. I mean, I'll be honest. It can be very challenging, very stressful. I'm going to be very honest with everybody out there. There's really no room for error. We work very closely with our underwriting attorney to make sure everything's done correctly. We have several questions that come up daily, it can be probate, anything. So we are constantly dealing with a lot of, kind of high intent situations. So, but if somebody's up for a challenge and they'd like to, pursue, this type of career, if they're in real estate and they're looking to maybe get out of real estate, I do recommend have some idea kind of what you're involving yourself in, as far as if you were in real estate, or if you're kind of a little familiar with the whole process, before you start. But
it's a acquired field, acquired taste.
Yeah. Everybody's wired differently for different things in life. So,
What about you, Melanie? Would you encourage individuals to seek out becoming a mortgage loan officer?
I can only speak from my experience, and I will tell you that I absolutely love what I do. I feel like, and I think for all three of us even here, I feel like we actually affect people's lives. Buying a home that's like having a child, getting married. I mean, buying a home that's a huge milestone for some people, especially when it's that first home. And we get to participate in that. So, not only do you can earn a nice income, from being a mortgage loan officer, but I think if you love what you do, in a way, it has become a ministry for me. I get satisfaction on the day of closing. I've had people sit in my office and cry, after closing, because they just shake their head and say, I never thought I could even own a home. To be able to change somebody's life like that is pretty impactful. So I get great satisfaction from it, and I think anybody who's in our type of business too, where, we're commission based, and you've got to work extra hard to be able to make a living for your own family, and makes it so much easier when you love what you do. But yeah, there are mortgage loan officers that are, always jumping in the business and then getting out of the business, because they're like, right now, with rates being a little bit higher, there might not be as many buyers. And so there's probably loan officers out there that, might have gone to look for other things, other type of income or work, for right now, just depending on what their personal situation is. But I think it's so worth sticking it out. And I absolutely would encourage anybody that, has a love of numbers, that is good with, they're good with deadlines and with details, and a lot of brain retention to try to keep all these programs straight.
Stick it
Definitely.
out. I could see a T-shirt, Melanie, like I
Yeah.
stuck it out. Like
Yeah.
all of these
I
first-time home
survived.
buyers are lined up outside of Watson when these rates drop, and you got a nice T-shirt that says "I stuck it out."
Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
I do have a couple of last questions that I'm going to ask you guys. Thank you so much, Jay, and thank you so much, Nadine. This will be our last couple of questions. So, Jay, what's the name of the program that veterans can use, even if they're not first-time home buyers? What kind of benefits are available for veterans?
So the one that I was speaking of is called it's put out by Florida Housing, but it is called the Hometown Heroes Loan. And, with that one, like I said, you do not have to be a first time home buyer. Now, that does mean, however, that you can't already own a primary home. So all it means is that you don't have to have satisfied that 3 years where no property is owned. But, the veterans loan in itself is a fantastic loan product. That definitely is a perk for veterans. And my goodness, we owe them that and so much more. But it is 100% financing. There is no down payment required. Typically, rates will be a pinch better. And one of the biggest things is that there's no private mortgage insurance. So even though they're not putting that 20% down, they're financing 100% the sales price of that home. There is no PMI on that loan ever, which is fantastic. So when you combine the VA with the Hometown Heroes, if they don't have any down payment to put down, and yet we're getting them 5% of that loan amount, maybe 15 or 20,000, that's more than what we need for closing costs. So then we can apply some of that to, putting a down payment down, make their payment even better. Just put it towards the price, the principal balance.
I
So
love that. I
yeah,
love that. And
VA is
Nadine gave you a
fantastic.
shout out. She said, let me show that on the screen since that's a shout out. Let me change our view
Oh,
here. Melanie helped me with my VA buyer in the bond program. We closed in less than 30 days.
we
All
did.
right.
We
I
did.
love it. There's a testament right
Thank
there
you,
to,
Nadine.
to Melanie and the graciousness, the excellence, and the heart led, personality that she has as she works with you through your loan. And Brenda, she's going to make sure everything is good with your title. And when she speaks to you, you're going to make sure she hears you. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to I'm saying it backwards, Brenda. Excuse me. When you're talking to the person, you're going to make sure they hear you. I love the exuberance that you talk with. You're
Brenda's
so
Oh,
the
yes.
best. Brenda is awesome. One thing with
I
Brenda
love
is
that.
you never have to worry about your file. She is on top of it times
She's
10.
on top of it. I
Yeah.
love it, Brenda. I love the
Yes.
excitement and the passion that definitely comes through when we're talking to you. So I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. Thank you for your
Thank you.
questions. We are here on Mondays at 6, you guys. I don't know about you, but I've been binge watched some Hulu, some Netflix, a little bit of TikTok, a little bit of YouTube. So once a week, you guys, we're live for about 60 minutes of your life. But to me, it's one of the best hours of your life because this is a serious purchase, you guys. Your home, for you guys who are investing out there, we have a lot going on our other programs where we're really talking to investors, where we're talking to first time home buyers or second, third, fourth time, as well as sellers. We have inspectors that come on. I am trying to have a show, you guys, where I have 3 appraisers because I know you guys have some questions for
Yeah.
appraisers. So I am currently trying to kind of feel my one of my upcoming programs with 3 appraisers where you can get those
Awesome.
questions
Yeah. That'd be good.
answered. And so I think that's going to be awesome. So
Yeah.
before we end, Brenda and Melanie, I always like to take just about 1 minute to share our reason why we love and do what we do. I know you guys kind of share bits and pieces already, but Brenda, tell us your reason why.
Well, I think honestly, it's the company. I've been with Watson now 21 years, and honestly, the way the backing we have from support, anything I need to get done, it because it's like I said, it's an intense day, typically every day. So just for me, it's been the company. I'm going to be honest. I encourage new agents any agents to go with Watson. They have a great backing system, and I love it, and that's honestly why I've stayed with Watson Title.
Awesome. What's your reason why, Melanie?
Yeah, and I can reiterate what Brenda said. I mean, there is an actual Mr. Watson, and Mr.
Yeah.
Watson has our backs. He has
Yeah.
helped in so many situations and circumstances. It's just a very, very good company to work for. I have been very happy to be here for as long as I have. And I think, I mentioned the other thing, and it's just that we do affect and change people's lives. And so, it matters what we do, from day to day. So I think she's just coming back on.
Yeah.
Well, Brenda, are we wrapping it up? So yeah, I mean,
So come buy a house and sell your house.
that's right. And I get recruiting calls, almost on the daily for people looking, for mortgage people, and I'm not leaving Watson.
Right.
So, I mean, Watson, if I'm doing mortgages, this is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And working with you, Brenda.
And you too, Melanie.
So I was looking at some of her questions over here.
Well, Nadine was nice. She said Watson Title helped as well. I know that was on her current one.
Yes.
That we just closed. That was nice.
Yeah.
Well, the one question came up, where's a good spot to educate yourself on mortgages? I think Jay had asked that. JD.
Oh gosh, there's lots of good places out there. There, myfico.com if you're looking for things that are related to credit scores and things like that. But I will tell you, I love to listen to Dave Ramsey. I know people have opinions about him or not, but and he's even got his own mortgage company as well. But they definitely gives a lot of good feedback about mortgages and different scenarios. And then the other one is Clark Howard. Clark Howard is another kind of
that's right. He's good.
Yeah, financial guru that I follow that talks a lot about mortgages. And if you go visit their websites, tons of information out there. So there is a lot, and that's why I say a lot of the buyers that that come in, that you can tell the ones that have done their homework and their research and really gone onto these sites and educated themselves before they come talk to me. So I appreciate that. But there's so much. I mean, we have information at our fingertips these days. So anything that you need to know, you can find it online.
True. Okay. I guess Sharina, I don't know. Maybe
I'm thinking she might be having some technical difficulties.
I think she might. So
here she comes.
Hey! Yeah, we've been chatting amongst ourselves over here.
Oh my gosh, it feels like I ran to Egypt and back. I'm not sure what happened there.
All good.
We kept
Thank
it going.
You guys for holding it down. It is live, you guys. So welcome to
live.
That's right.
Welcome to a live show. Thank you, ladies, for holding it down while I was figuring it out on my end. But thank you so much, ladies, again for coming. Thank you guys for all your live questions. Thank you for tuning in. Your comments are always so amazing, being able to answer your questions. And my reason why is really, helping those who are looking to invest in real estate. I mean, having a very proven track record. Over 90% of those who are millionaires have done that through real estate. And not necessarily for me for the wealth aspect alone, but for the time, to be able to have time with your family, to be able to just kind of free up your life a little bit, especially for individuals who have small children and a growing family, and you're spending, 8 hours at the first job and, 4 hours at the second job, and you can barely make your bills because you're struggling day in, day out. But with a few investment properties, with a few different strategic moves, like Melanie was saying, you can be a first-time home buyer, and then you can actually purchase another home through FHA, and continue to do that over and over again, where in the next 20 years, you own 5 homes instead of renting for the next 20 years. So, really seeing people gain financial time freedom is really amazing for me. It's something that I didn't see when I was a child. And so really empowering individuals. You can use real estate as investment opportunity, even from primary residence, duplex, triplex, a quad. Really being able to use that funding to be able to help you to pay your monthly mortgage. And so, if you're looking to invest or to even use a primary residence as an investment opportunity, I'm the girl you want to call. So I'd love to help you with that. And I love Watson. Team Anthony, you guys are amazing. Shout out to Renee Anthony. I mean, just the wisdom and the patience, and Dominic Anthony, the wisdom that he pours out. And then Ellen is just a sweetheart, so well seasoned. I said, Ellen, you're so gracefully seasoned. And hi, Mr. Watson, as well out there. Hello. And then last but not least, I thank you, Carlos, the CEO of Young Sharks, for allowing me to use this YouTube platform to be able to come live here. So thank you guys so much for your questions. Jay, I will hold that question to next Monday for sure. Can anyone be qualified for FHA? So I appreciate everyone.
Call me Jay.
Yes, call Melanie. Melanie, I'm about to type your number down here. Let me get your number, Melanie.
It's 352
352
536
536
4222.
4222. Jay, give Melanie a call. Melanie, when we jump off of here, will you answer Jay's call when we get
I
off?
sure will.
Jay, will answer your call. So you'll get one-on-one. And then Jay, when you were talking about veterans, when you had your other questions, jumping on the phone with Melanie will definitely be an amazing time for you to get all those questions answered. And so thank you, ladies. Thank you for your patience out there, you guys. Thank you. Stay right there, ladies. Stay right there.
Okay.
All right, you guys, have a great evening.